Do you pee before leaving the house, even though you just went? Or maybe you pee before a workout or a meeting, and then you're finding that you have to go again not long after? If so, you are not alone. Today, we are talking about the just in case pee, and I'm going to call it the dreaded just in case pee, and why it may actually be triggering your brain and your bladder in a way that's working against you. Welcome to Potty Talk, tiny tips for your pelvic floor. I'm Crystal, and I am so happy you're here. What is the just in case pee? I see it all the time, and I'm going to be guilty, or I'm going to say it. I'm going to be guilty. I'm guilty of doing it myself. So, a just in case pee is when you empty your bladder before you actually need to. So, examples are before leaving the house. Maybe it's right when you get home from work or being out before a workout. Maybe it's before a meeting, before going shopping. So, it's basically you are going simply just in case. And we do it because we're worried that we're going to leak. Maybe it's you have incontinence and you leak when you cough or sneeze, so you have stress incontinence. Or maybe you have urge incontinence, so you can't ever make it to the toilet in time. So you're worried that if I don't empty my bladder now, what's going to happen when I go out into the real world and I'm not in my safe zone, which is my house? You're worried that maybe you don't want to use a public bathroom, and you want to feel prepared and in control. And these fears make sense. So they just to let you know, these make complete sense. Now, the only thing is these fears start to create bad habits. And your bladder and your brain are in constant communication. So every time you do that just in case pee, you're teaching your bladder that when we leave the house, we pee. When we see a bathroom, we pee. Do you ever get that when you're like, oh my God, there's a bathroom, I gotta pee? Or you're driving down the highway. We see this a lot maybe with like long trips, and we're kind of entering summertime where we're driving to cottage country or going on these longer trips. So it's like every time you see the en route or the gas station with the restaurant, you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta pee, just in case. And you think about it constantly. So over time, you're going to have this urge to pee come up sooner and sooner. And this can lead to more frequent bathroom trips, increased urgency. So you're starting to train, like every time you see a bathroom, every time someone says bathroom or toilet, you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I should go to the bathroom. And then you'll start to feel anxious about when is the next bathroom trip. So, little reality check here. You know what? The goal isn't to hold our pee forever. Like, that is not good. But we want to trust bladder signals. So, most people empty their bladder every 2 to 4 hours. Now, this depends on age, how much you have been drinking, ate water, juices, coffee, tea, your activity level. So, if you've peed 20 minutes ago and then you're heading to the grocery store and you're like, oh, maybe I should just go just in case before I get to the grocery store, your bladder isn't actually full. So you need to start listening to the cues. And you may not even know what those cues are anymore because you're just peeing just in case all the time. So it's your brain that is triggering I should go and not your bladder. So I'm going to give you 3 simple tips that you can do, and you can start it today. So we can start retraining the bladder, and that's what we need to do. We need to retrain the brain and the bladder. So it is a lot of mindset and trust that you have to start instilling in yourself. So the first thing is ask yourself a few questions. So before you head to the bathroom, pause and think. When was the last time I peed? Do I actually have to go? And why am I going right now? So maybe your answers are because I'm leaving the house, or I'm nervous I'm going to leak. I don't want to use a public bathroom. because I'm worried I won't make it to the bathroom later. And so a lot of the times, the issue isn't a full bladder, it's fear, it's the habit, and it's your brain trying to keep you safe. And I totally get that. So that's number one. Ask yourself the questions. Number two, and you're going to be like, oh, Crystal, breathing again. Yes, breathing again. It is so important. We're going to take 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths. So your diaphragm is part of your core. So we're going to calm the nervous system. We're going to reduce the anxiety. We're going to create a pause instead of reacting right away. So 3, that's it. And you know what? If you're like 3, just do 1. Okay, so we're going to take an inhale through the nose, and you want to feel that nice expansion of the diaphragm. Okay, so by big breath in, and then exhale out through the mouth. And you're going to do it nice and slow 3 times. 3 times. So it's just we're calming that anxiety, and we're taking a pause. So sometimes our brain just anticipates the problem, and that's why we're like, oh my God, I'm just going to go because I'm worried. And I'm worried and I'm fearful, but we need to take a pause. Okay, so that's tip 2. Take 3 diaphragmatic breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay, and tip number 3 is we need to distract the brain. So once you've decided that, okay, you know what, you're right, I did just pee 20 minutes ago, I really don't have to go, we need to start distracting the brain. So it could be tapping each finger with your thumb. So you're going, your first finger, second, third, fourth, and you're tapping it to your thumb. Okay, so we're just thinking, okay, maybe you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so just that sensation distracting the brain. You can count backwards. Okay, so you can pick a number, let's say even think 100 or 10 and just count backwards. If you have a fidget toy or something that you can just fidget with, maybe it's one of those like squeeze balls. I have a squeeze ball right here. Just something to distract. You can start thinking about something else. So think about, okay, well, when I'm going out, what do I have to do? I have to like what's on the list. Just start to think about, okay, what's next? And then just begin the next task. So for example, if it's you're peeing before you leave the house to go grocery shopping, just do that. Just go, okay, I'm going to go into the car and I'm going to go. Okay. So number 3 is distract your brain. So we're trying to interrupt this habit loop. So we're now teaching the brain that I heard the signal, but I don't need to act on it right now. And then you move on with your day. Okay. So, and one thing that I like to say too is a little bit of like self-reflection and self-talk. I'm okay, I'm safe, and I trust my bladder. Okay. So I'm okay, I'm safe, and I trust my bladder. So those are your 3. So let's go over them just one more time. So we have number 1 is ask yourself a few questions. Number 2, 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths. And number 3 is distract your brain. Here's another thing. Confidence honestly changes everything. So this is where pelvic floor training is very important. So when you start working on release work, breathing, core connection, pelvic floor coordination, and strength, then you start to build that confidence. So you start to think like, oh, I'm working on this. My body's getting stronger. I have the tools, and I don't need to panic every time I leave the house. So even just that learning about your body, creating that awareness and starting to do the movements and exercises, that confidence is going to reduce the urge of those just in case pees. So if you know you're working on it and you're doing all the things, you have the toolbox, then you're going to be like, no, I'm confident that I can trust my bladder because I am putting the work in. Now, before we leave, I do want to give a little note about kids because I do feel like a lot of this bladder training happens at a young age. And I also have done this with my own kids, and I'm being more aware to not do this. So as parents, we often will say to our kids, like, did you pee before we left? Like, do you have to pee before we leave? If we're going on a really long trip, so you don't want to have to pee, like, 20 minutes into the car ride. And it's also more of a fear of the parent than it is the kids, because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, like, again, pull off into a public bathroom and have to take my toddler and my kid into the bathroom and go through all that. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay to do that, right? You're teaching them that it's okay to pee in public. It's okay to have to pull off on the side of the road and pee. It's okay to do this. So, we also say, like, just try anyway. Like, you don't have to go, but just try. It's just, we don't want to have to stop. Or like, you have to go before we get in the car. I'm not stopping on the side of the road. So you're starting to instill this fear into them. So we want to start to say, try to change that narrative. To say, well, what is your bladder telling you? Like, we're going on a long trip. Like, what is your bladder telling you? Do you actually have to go? And like, I'll say, like, listen, I simply say, listen to your bladder. Do you have to go? Or just like, when is the last time you went? Oh, mom, I went like half an hour ago. Okay, then you're fine. You don't need to go again. Right? So it's just teaching them to start listening to their own bladder and making the decisions that themselves. And if they do have to go when you're like half an hour in or an hour in, then just say, okay, that's fine. Like, do you feel like you really have to go? Like, you did say you went like 45 minutes ago, and then you can start to see their cues, where they start bouncing up and down and holding themselves. Then okay, well, maybe they really have to go. But we have to start training them at a young age. And I also, like I said, I like to use the listen to your bladder. Are you getting those bladder cues? And it starts to just teach them healthy bladder and bathroom mindset to just know, okay, when I actually have to go. So remember, your bladder is designed to hold urine, and it's okay to use a public bathroom. It's okay. And I'm just going to say, I one time peed in a large Tim Hortons cup in my car. And it was before my son's football game, and there was no porta potty. Well, there was a porta potty. It just, the door was locked and no one could get in. So I was like, well, I guess I'm peeing in a Tim Hortons cup. So it's okay to stop during road trips. And it's okay if things don't go perfectly. It's not perfection. It's training the brain and the bladder to work together. So just start to slowly implement this in, even if it's just, if you feel like you just in case pee all the time, just try it once. Like, just say you just in case pee, like, I don't know, let's say 5 times in a day. Just try it one time. Start to build on it. And remember, ask yourself why. Take 3 deep breaths in and distract the brain and move on. So this is how we're going to start to break the habits. And then another big thing too is start to retrain your pelvic floor. If the reason why you're doing these just in case pees is because of that stress incontinence, because if you're worried that if you sneeze or you cough or you laugh, you're going to leak, or if maybe it's urgent continence, you already have that urgent continence, meaning like you can't make it to the toilet in time, like you start dribbling pee out, just as in the vision of a bathroom or toilet, then it's really important to start to retrain the pelvic floor, retrain the core with movement and exercise. So that's also going to help to build that confidence. So if this episode made you realize you are a serial just in case peer, just know you're not alone. So I'd love you to share this episode with a friend who also does the same thing. Like, if you're noticing she's doing the same thing, then share the episode with her. Subscribe to Potty Talk. You'll be getting a tiny tip every single Tuesday. And I want to thank you so much for joining me, and we'll chat next week. Bye.